Hello, welcome to Butler School. So here we are on episode 22, and today we're going to do something that's probably about as synonymous with butlering as anything, and that's polishing the silver. Now, when I was a young footman at Leeds Castle, we had a silver safe that was the size of a room, and there were thousands of pieces of silver inside. So every day that we weren't busy looking after the guests, if there was no one around, we would polish every item in that safe. It was very much a fourth bridge operation. By the time you get to the end of polishing it, you're right back to polishing the thing that you started with. I know that a lot of other people within the estate thought that polishing the silver was some sort of euphemism for us all going down the pub, but we were genuinely polishing all the silver. So let's talk a bit about the sorts of silver polish. There's really four different kinds of silver polish that you can use. I've actually only got two here today. One of which I would never use anyway, which is a silver cloth. You get them, they're sort of an impregnated cloth, it looks like a duster, and to be honest, in my experience, it does very little more than a duster would do. I totally can't see the point of it. I mean, it might be alright for polishing up, you know, a pair of silver earrings or something, but as far as doing your cutlery and your candlesticks and stuff, totally pointless, waste of money, don't bother. The next is long-term silver polish. The only brand I know that make that is Goddard's. It's very good. But personally, I wouldn't use it on food service utensils. It's perfect on things like candlesticks, which, you know, don't go into people's mouths. But I find it leaves a bit of a residue, which is why it's long term, because it does coat the objects. So brilliant for things like candlesticks. I'm going to see if I can mail order some. If I can, I will show you on a later video how that one works. But the main two which I use are either silver dip or foaming silver polish. Now, I normally buy the Goddard's foaming silver polish. This is the Waitrose own brand. Now, they come in the same shape pot. They smell exactly the same. They look exactly the same. I would believe it probably is exactly the same. I mean, Waitrose or Goddard's can feel free to contact me if I'm wrong, but I reckon that could well be made by Goddard's. Does the same thing. It comes with a little sponge. I've lost the sponge, so I've got a little cloth. But to be honest, it really doesn't matter. Little sponge, cloth, makes no difference. So what I'm going to do first is demonstrate silver dip. Now, you do have to be a bit careful with silver dip for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it is quite toxic, so you don't want to drink it. Probably goes with any chemicals, really. You are supposed to wear gloves. I'll be honest, back in those Leeds Castle days, none of us ever wore gloves and we constantly had our hands in the silver dip. But it quite clearly says on the jar to wear gloves, so I'm doing so and I recommend you do the same. Now, here's a very tarnished knife here. Now, something you need to know is you never ever want to get silver dip on stainless steel. It makes it go black. So you want to be really careful. If you do splash any on there, just wash it off with lots of water straight away. You'll probably have seen this before. You'll see that you have all these silver handled knives and then this bit is all black. That's why. It's because silver dip's got the stainless steel, so just be careful. Now, silver dip has a very quick contact time. So you literally just dip it in and just make sure you've covered all the bit that you need to go under the silver dip. Okay? Literally just a couple of seconds and just bring it out. And that's all it takes. See, that's literally just come up, silver, all the tarnish is gone. Just give it a little rub to get it all into the sort of pattern and everything there. But you'll see that really is all it takes. If you've got any, like this one, you see it has a pattern. So what I'll do is I'll use a cotton bud, dip it in and just rub that in. See that? Can you see that on the cotton bud? That's all of that tarnish taken straight off. Now, like I say, this long having the silver dip on it is perfectly fine, but do not leave it too long. I remember once someone accidentally left straight into the water to get the silver dip off. Someone accidentally left a silver-plated teaspoon in the silver dip overnight. What we do, if you're doing a lot of cutlery, you get a big tub like this, fill it with silver dip, and then you can dip it all straight in. Now, overnight, when we came back the next day, the little silver-plated teaspoon had no silver on at all. It was just a copper teaspoon. So bear in mind, that is how abrasive this stuff is. So you want to use it sparingly. But as you'll see, it is very efficient. I mean, that's polished that up to a good standard practically instantly. Now you do want to just give this part a good wash, because you don't want anyone eating the silver dip by accident. But look, I mean, that was very tarnished. That was a very dirty knife, and that's looking very nice straight away. Now what I'll show you here is this poor little spoon. Unfortunately, its days are numbered. The silver plate has actually rubbed off. So to be honest, when you dip it, it will look a bit better, as you can see, but you're never going to be able to get it looking nice where the plate has actually been removed. You can see this is actually, see there, that's actually where it's been rubbed on tables or whatever throughout its 100-odd years, and it's actually been removed. So like I say, you can make it look a bit better, but you won't be able to cure that unless you send it off to be replated. Straight in there, give it a rub. So next thing I want to show you is the foaming silver polish. This stuff's brilliant, and the silver dip is much faster, but like I say, it's quite abrasive and it will cause some damage over years of use to your silver. So what I normally like to use is polish this foaming silver polish. Now what you need, I always use, by the way, hot water, as hot as you can for doing the silver. Some people worry that hot water might damage the silver, but if you manage to get water hot enough that it's going to melt silver, then you're doing pretty well, because you're defying the laws of physics. So I'm just going to demonstrate with a fork here. First thing you want to do is get it wet. Okay, I've got a wipe down table here, so I don't need to worry about, you know, marking it at all. Now with your wet cloth, get plenty of this lovely stuff, looks a bit like soap, and just rub it on. And the way this works is it actually sort of polishes it as well as clean it, whereas the silver dip pretty much just cleans it, but this actually brings it up to a nice high shine. And this is this old fiddleback fork here. Someone asked me on the questions the other day about how to clean in between the tines on the fork, and my good old cotton bud again. Just apply some of the polish like that and just go up and down between. Now the enemy of silver is the egg. In fact, so much so that if I can, I avoid using silver at breakfast as much as possible. If you use one of these sort of terrines for the breakfast, for scrambled egg or something like that, you will find that immediately afterwards it is jet black, and it takes a lot of polishing. You want to get that clean as quick as you can if you're going to have eggs. Same as if you're eating eggs with the forks, the end of the tines will all be black, so you need to clean that as quickly as you can. But as you will see, this actually brings the fork up very quickly to a nice shine. Well, I say quickly, this is doing one. If you're doing 200 of the things, this doesn't feel quick, which is why you have to allot a whole day really to doing it. But just make sure you've covered the whole thing, gone all the way around. So give it a nice wash off in the hot water. Look at that, absolutely lovely. Just give it a little bit of a dry on cloth. I absolutely love polishing silver. I think if you need some sort of therapy, buy yourself a load of dirty silver and some silver polish, and I defy you to be depressed by the time you get to the end of it. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but look at that. Look, I mean, that's such a small amount of work to make such a difference. Looks absolutely lovely now. If you saw that in a little antique shop, you'd probably pay double what you'd pay for the one that hasn't been polished now, wouldn't you? Now, next thing is this very tarnished bowl here. Now, again, we've got some detail. So again, it's the good old cotton bud. Now let's get that in. Now, not only when you're polishing anything with a lot of detail in it, not only do you want to make sure that you get the polish into all the detail, you also want to make sure you get it out again. Because if you leave it there and let it dry, it dries like this sort of horrible pale pink paste. And the more detailed the thing that you're polishing, the more difficult it will be to remove that. You know, if you talk about this or something that's very highly decorative, you could have a real job getting it out again. So just bear that in mind. And then on the flat part, you know, let's get some water on our cloth or sponge and just start working away. Now this will take a while because it's very, very tarnished. So I will get back to you in a moment. Right, as you can see, I've been polishing this for a while now, and I think you'll be amazed at the difference if you're not used to doing this, the difference between an unpolished side and a polished side. In fact, I've seen so many silver items which are tarnished and black, like way blacker than this. I just don't have anything that black, that are in sort of charity shops or thrift stores at almost no money. You take it home, you just give it a little bit of a polish, and it's a beautiful object. So there we go. I hope that's sort of giving you an idea on how to polish the silver. As always, any questions you've got, feel free to drop me a line. You know, there's a lot of specifics when it comes to polishing silver. I suppose there's a couple of final notes. One thing I would say is avoid putting any silver in the dishwasher ever. Like, dishwashers are really not good for silver. It wears away the, you know, if it's silver plate, it wears away the silver. Also, if you have like joined knives like this, where the silver handle meets the stainless steel, what will happen is that actually the glue will melt, or the solder will melt, and they'll actually start to come apart in the heat. So you really don't want to do that. Get to know the objects that you're polishing. For example, like these tureens, usually the top bit comes off, which is so you can put that in the warming cupboard, but this stays cool because obviously you need to pick it up by it, so you don't want it hot. But also when you're cleaning it, you really don't want to leave it on, because when you open it, you'll see there's an unpolished area underneath. You always want to try and polish the underside as well, because you never know, your principal might have a little look under there. And if you're carrying it with the white gloves, the last thing you want to do is put it down and have black fingertips where you haven't polished the underside. Okay, so like I say, I could go on for quite a long time about this, but I don't want to bore you too much. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please subscribe to watch some more Butlers tips from us. Right, thank you very much.